Ladies and gentlemen, our weeks, months of constant complaining has finally resulted in something positive. Today, I bring to you a video to serve as a beacon of hope. You no longer need to delete your demon hunter. You don't have to re-roll, and you don't have to explain to your guild leader that you're putting yourself first and they can shove their 5% magic damage buff. Fel-Scarred has finally been given some attention, and it received some big buffs that could actually turn things around for us. Its biggest problem has been that it's so far behind Eldrazi Reaver that you just simply wouldn't even consider it for any situation. We thought we were doomed and we'd be stuck playing the incredibly convoluted playstyle of Eldrazi. But to no surprise, with no warning whatsoever, a brand new build was pushed, and things are starting to look a little different. So let's go over all the changes. There were a couple undocumented changes that I'll also show you, and then I have some thoughts that I'm going to share towards the end. So the changes we got are Demon Surge damage increased by 80%. This is pretty significant. 80% is a large number. It's not quite as much as I would have liked to see. I was hoping for at least 100, but hey, we'll take 80. 80 is double digits. It's fine by me. The next change is Burning Blades damage over time effect increased by 50%. So this is just a small increase relative to everything else. Burning Blades doesn't do all that much damage, but every little bit helps, so we'll take it. Enduring Torment now grants 10% increased Chaos Strike and Blade Dance damage. It was 5%. And it gives us 5% haste. It was 3%. Student of Suffering bonus mastery effect has been increased by 50%, and this one is actually quite large. I'll show you what this will equate to in terms of how much mastery we're actually going to get from using Sigil of Flame. It's pretty big. And for that choice node, they also buffed Flamebound, which now grants 40% increased critical strike damage bonus from Immolation Aura, was 30. They also buffed Monster Rising, which now increases agility outside of demon form by 8%, was 5%. And then all non-hero talent ability damage increased by 13%. So that is literally everything that isn't included in our hero talent trees. So Fellblade, Blade Dance, Hunt, Throatglaive, Sigil of Flame, even Vengeful Retreat, I-Beam, Essence Break, everything that's not a new damage event from our hero talent trees. Hey, while I have you guys here, I need your help. I've been nominated for Creator of the Year over at the MMOAwards, and I need your help to actually win the vote, win the award. So if you guys go to MMOAwards.com, you'll be taken to this site here. You'll sign in with your Google account, and if you scroll down, you'll see Creator of the Year, and there are the nominees here. You'll find my name right there. Find the button that says Jedith, click on it, submit the vote, and hopefully I can win this award. It would be really cool to win it. I'm up against some other great creators, and it would mean a lot to me if, even if I don't win, if I could just get your support, if you could just click that button, it would help out a lot. Voting closes on August 2nd, so we need to hustle, we need to get the votes in, and yeah, hopefully we can make it happen. All right, back to the video. Now for the undocumented changes, and these ones are big as well. Demon Surge is now actually affected by inertia or momentum, so you can give your Demon Surges a 18% damage increase from your inertia, or 6% from momentum. And of course, Demon Surge also benefits from the crit damage bonus we get from initiative and our mastery. Everything else does actually affect Demon Surge, which is awesome. And kind of an interesting thing to note is the buff to all non-hero talent abilities ended up buffing the wrong version of Fel Devastation for HAVOC, because HAVOC still uses the wrong version of Fel Devastation for Collective Anguish. So if you weren't aware, there are multiple versions, multiple spell IDs of the ability Fel Devastation. There's one for Vengeance, and there's one for HAVOC. Collective Anguish for HAVOC has been using the wrong version of Fel Devastation since, God, I don't know, the beginning of Dragonflight. And this is something we've been reporting every time there's a new patch. Honestly, every time there's new tuning, we always mention it, right? But it just never gets fixed. But when Blizzard goes and does something like they try to buff all of these non-hero talent abilities for HAVOC, they just go and they gather everything that's labeled as HAVOC and they slap that buff on it. Well, even though the HAVOC version of Feldev got the buff, we're actually not using that version of it for Collective Anguish. So hopefully that's something they're able to fix at some point. I don't know how many times we have to mention it to them, but we'll see. So I'll just hit these dummies a little bit, and I'll show you what the damage breakdown looks like at the end. So we're gonna pre-Sigil of Flame, we'll use a potion, I-Beam, use our demon surges. And as you can see, we are just absolutely blasting on 3 targets. And the longer that we can keep ourselves in meta, we are able to maintain the access to consuming fire and abyssal gaze, and there we just lost our meta. So it drops back down to the original versions of the abilities. But you can see, you know, our damage was pretty insane. We got some big death sweeps. Demon Surge damage was going nutty. Rage Fire's popping off. Everything is looking real good. Now, earlier I mentioned there was a buff to Student of Suffering. So Student of Suffering makes your Sigil of Flame apply Student of Suffering to us. So that's a buff that we get. It increases our mastery now by 21.6% and grants 5 Fury every 2 seconds for 8 seconds. We are getting a 21.6% mastery buff for 8 seconds every 30 seconds, and we're able to line that up with our burst windows. And luckily enough, in Fel-Scarred, because we have the talent Violent Transformation, whenever we activate Metamorphosis, this also resets the cooldown on our Sigil of Flame. In our opener, we're able to get 2 Sigil of Flames in, one usually like pre-pull, and then the other one shortly after we press meta. We're able to keep that increased mastery buff the entire time, which is obviously just bolstering the damage of all of our other abilities. If we throw down a Sigil of Flame, look at our buff up here, 21.6%. That's bringing my mastery up to 46% here. Obviously, my stats are pretty dang low because of beta, right? We have shit stats, shit gear. It's whatever, but it's essentially doubling my mastery, just under doubling. That's going to be a big increase to, I would suspect we'll probably use that for more like single target, maybe low target situations. But then if we're in dungeons, we might want to take Flamebound, which is just going to massively boost the damage of our immolation auras, which then feeds into our Rage Fire, makes Rage Fire pop off. Now also because we have a fire inside, we're getting free charges, free refreshes of Immolation Aura, and not just Immolation Aura, but the actual new version of Immolation Aura that we get when we press meta, which is called Consuming Fire. So that does more damage. We're getting refreshes on it. That feeds into Rage Fire, and it just increases our Rage Fire damage overall. And of course, the damage of your Immolation Aura is being pumped up by everything else, right? Your inertia, it can crit, so your initiative, all that stuff. It's all feeding into Rage Fire and making it do pretty crazy damage. And then when you take Flamebound, of course, it's increasing the radius of your Immolation Aura by 2 yards. So that means the chance of it actually hitting an enemy is going to increase. It's increasing the critical strike damage bonus of it by an extra 40%. So, okay, where does this actually leave Fel-Scarred when compared to Eldrazi? In AoE, honestly, it's much closer, if not even better, than Eldrazi. The AoE potential with Fel-Scarred is much more in line with where it was expected to be. I think after enough build cooking and optimization, Fel-Scarred will be completely viable for AoE, if not the choice. In single target, Eldrazi still creeps ahead by a bit, especially because some of the changes today actually do buff Eldrazi as well, because they've buffed non-hero talent abilities like Blade Dance and Chaos Strike, right? Death Sweep, Annihilation. Those are all abilities that are even further amplified inside of Eldrazi. So this is what leads us to believe that because they buffed all of these non-hero talent tree abilities, they have plans to also roll back Eldrazi a little bit. So with that in mind, it's pretty safe to say that Eldrazi is definitely on the chopping board for some major nerfs, since it was already extremely ahead before Demon Hunters got those buffs to the non-hero talent abilities. So just to put it into perspective, after the buffs to Fel-Scarred today, that puts us simming on the top end of most classes for single target while we're using Fel-Scarred. Now, Eldrazi is even ahead of that, so after Eldrazi gets the nerfs that are coming, the 2 hero talent trees will be very, very close and will hopefully have their moments where they shine in specific situations. And even if Eldrazi stays in a state where it's better than Fel-Scarred in single target, Eldrazi honestly isn't the worst thing to play in raids, truthfully. It might be a little boring, it's simple, it's straightforward, but it doesn't need the notorious PhD in rocket science to figure it out like it would in AoE. Now, ultimately, this is just a really good sign altogether. This shows that Blizzard hasn't forgotten about HAVOC. They aren't going to ship us in a miserable state. They are listening. they're making changes, and there's likely more to come. So what do I think still needs to change for Fel-Scarred? Because there's definitely still some improvements that I think could be looked at to really get it to the perfect level. First and foremost, the single target damage can be improved massively just by adjusting the talent Focused Hatred. So right now, the bonus from this talent gets deleted as soon as there's any secondary target that appears, whether you intend it to be there or not, even if it's just a critter. So a quick and easy fix would be to make it give increased damage to the primary target rather than a solo target. I also think extending Demonic with I-Beam should at least give more charges of Demon Surge on Annihilation and Death Sweep. This would help our damage in between our 2-minute meta windows, because right now we do a lot of burst damage every 2 minutes, and then it kind of falls off pretty hard in between. And this could also be helped by taking a look at Enduring Torment and Monster Rising. While these were buffed today, I don't think it's quite enough. But all in all, like I said, I am super happy to see these changes come in today. This just gives me a bit of hope that we're not going to be pigeonholed into playing a playstyle that we just absolutely despise and hate. You know, if you decide that you want to play Fel-Scarred, even if the tuning ends up that Eldrazi is just slightly better, you're not going to be laughed at if you decide to play Fel-Scarred. After the nerfs come in and Eldrazi Reaver gets rolled back just a little bit like we all assume it's going to be, Fel-Scarred is going to be a completely viable option, and it should be able to keep up just fine for most players. Alright, if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a like, sub to the YouTube channel. We are so close to 30K. We're right there at this point. I'll probably have it in the next few days if I don't already have it by the time you're watching this video. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time. Peace.